अनंत संसार समुद्रतारा नौकायिताभ्यां गुरुभक्तिदाभ्यां वैराग्य साम्राज्यद पूजनाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां कवित्ववाराशिनिशाकराभ्यां दौर्भाग्यदावाम्बुदमालिकाभ्यां दूरीकृतानम्रविपत्ततिभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां नताययो श्रीपतितां समीयुः कदाचिदप्याशु दरिद्रवर्याः मूकाश्च वाचस्पतितां हिताभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां नालीकनीकाशपदाहृताभ्यां नानाविमोहादिनिवारिकाभ्यां नमज्जनाभीष्टततिप्रदाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां नृपालिमौलिव्रजरत्नकान्ति सरिद्विराजझषकन्यकाभ्यां नृपद्वदाभ्यां नतलोकपङ्क्तेः नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां पापान्धकारार्कपरम्पराभ्यां तापत्रयाहीन्द्रखगेश्वराभ्यां जाड्याब्धिसंशोषणवाडवाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां शमादिषट्कप्रदवैभवाभ्यां समाधिदानव्रतदीक्षिताभ्यां प्रमाधवाङ्घ्रिस्थिरभक्तिदाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां वार्चापराणाम् अखिलेष्टदाभ्यां स्वाहा सहायाक्षधुरन्धराभ्यां स्वान्ताच्छभावप्रदपूजनाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां कामादिसर्पव्रजगारुडाभ्यां विवेकवैराग्यनिधिप्रदाभ्यां बोधप्रदाभ्यां द्रुतमोक्षदाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। वेदो नित्यमधीयतां तदुदितं कर्म स्वनुष्ठीयतां तेनेशस्य विधीयताम् अपचितिः काम्ये मतिस्त्यज्यतां पापौघः परिधूयतां भवसुखे दोषोऽनुसन्धीयताम् आत्मेच्छाव्यवसीयतां निजगृहात् तूर्णं विनिर्गम्यतां सङ्गत्सत्सु विधीयतां भगवतो भक्तिर्दृढाधीयताम् शान्त्यादिः परिचीयतां दृढतरं कर्माशु सन्त्यज्यतां सद्विद्वानुपसृप्यतां प्रतिदिनं तत्पादुकासेव्यतां ब्रह्मैकाक्षरमर्थ्यतां श्रुतिशिरो वाक्यं समाकर्ण्यतां वाक्यार्थश्च विचार्यतां श्रुतिशिरः पक्षः समाश्रीयतां दुस्तर्कात्सु विरम्यतां श्रुतिमतस्तर्कोऽनुसन्धीयतां ब्रह्मास्मीति विभाव्यताम् अहरहर्गर्वः परित्यज्यताम् देहेऽहम् अतिरुज्यताम् बुधजनैर्वादः परित्यज्यताम् क्षुद्व्याधिश्च चिकित्स्यताम् प्रतिदिनं भिक्षौषधं भुज्यताम् स्वाद्वन्नं न तु याच्यतां विधिवशात् प्राप्तेन सन्तुष्यताम् शीतोष्णादिविषह्यतां न तु वृथा वाक्यं समुच्चार्यताम् औदासीन्यमभीप्स्यतां जनकृपा नैष्ठुर्यमुत्सृज्यताम् एकान्ते सुखमास्यतां परतरे चेतः समाधीयताम् पूर्णात्मा सुसमीक्ष्यतां जगदिदं तद्बाधितं दृश्यताम् प्राक्कर्म प्रविलाप्यतां चितिबलान्नाप्युत्तरैश्लिष्यताम् प्रारब्धं त्विह भुज्यताम् अथ परब्रह्मात्मना स्थीयताम्. So after having gained the right knowledge, the supreme knowledge in the Brahmacharya ashrama, one enters into Grihastha ashrama and then acquires Chitta Shuddhi, Chitta Ekagrata, and then after attaining that Chitta Shuddhi, one enters into Vanaprastha ashrama, where one gets lot of time for spiritual activities. And ultimately, when the mind is fully prepared, one enters into Sannyāsa ashrama. So what is the only activity of a Sannyāsi? The only responsibility of the Sannyāsi is to fix his mind upon the supreme truth. So what are the methods? There are three methods. The three phases of sadhana. One is called Shravanam, second one is called Mananam, and the third one is called Nididhyāsana. So now, what is the first thing to be done? Such a person must first approach the teacher. Sad vidwan upasrupyatam. Approach the teacher and then pratidinam tat paduka sevyatam. Serve the teacher. Serve the teacher. And then what he must do? Once that relationship of love has been established, then he must seek the knowledge. Brahmākāram, Brahmaikaksharam arthyatam. Ask for this knowledge. So whenever the disciple is with the teacher, let him make use of the time in discussing the higher. Let him not ask mundane things of life. Brahmaikaksharam arthyatam. Ask for that supreme knowledge, that imperishable, non-dual Brahman. So then, will the Guru tell it? Of course, he will instruct the disciple. So then, at that time, what are you supposed to do? Shruti Shiro Vakyam Samakarnyatam. Listen carefully. So, listening is not hearing. Listening is different from mere hearing. When you hear, you allow the sound to pass through your ears. So what is your samakarnyatam? Samyak akarnyatam. So yesterday we were discussing this point. What all things should be there? When you listen to the teacher, there must be shraddha, faith in the words of the teacher. Number two, there should be chitta ekagrata, single pointed concentration. Number three, there should be Mahatva Buddhi. Means you must really value the knowledge. Number four, there should be Sara Grahana Samarthyam. That ability to understand what is the import. What is it that the Guru is trying to tell? What is the essential message? What is the core teaching? And then this learning should continue for a lengthy period of time. Dirghakala Shravanam, Sevanam must be done. Now in this, Mahatva Buddhi, Meaning, you must value this knowledge. That is very important. Whichever you value, there automatically will be chitta ekagrata. Now the thing is, why should we value this knowledge? Now see, the understanding should be clear that in life, all my suffering is because I really don't know who am I. All suffering, all problems, the seed of all anartha parampara, the series of calamities, the seed is that I don't know who I am. It is the very root of all problem. So self-ignorance is the root of all problem. So therefore, what has to be the solution? Self-knowledge alone can be the solution. Ignorance can go only through knowledge. Now, why does this self-ignorance cause a lot of problems? So there is a sequence. The first is Avidyā. Avidyā means I don't know who I am. I must know myself as Sat, Chit, Anand. But now, what is my understanding about myself? I am this limited body. From there, what happens? From Avidyā comes Kāma, desires. What is the basic desire? The basic desire is to be happy. All of us, what is the basic desire? You may be trying to be happy through various means, but ultimately the desire is to be happy. Now this Kāma has come from Avidyā. Why is it so? Remember, happiness is my nature. I need not desire it. That which is my nature, why should I desire? Like the fire need not desire heat. The sugar need not desire sweetness. It is already there. But then if I am desiring it, what does it mean? I am not experiencing it. And if I am not experiencing it, what does it mean? I don't know who I am. Ananda is my nature, but I am desiring Ananda in this world. So then, it definitely must be because I don't know who I am. So from Avidyā comes Kāma. Kāma means desires. So we have lots and lots of desires, and we think that by fulfilling these desires, someday I am going to be happy. And then, did you ask the teachers when you had desires? No. We thought, if these desires are fulfilled, I will be happy. What is the need of approaching the teachers? What is the need of studying scriptures? Fulfill the desire and be happy. So without further inquiry, without seeking the guidance of the masters, throughout our life, what are we doing? We are trying to fulfill our desires. From the birth itself, I go to school, then there is a desire that I must get a lot of marks. I study a lot, then after getting good marks, then there is a desire. What is the desire? I must get a job. Good job, better job, lot of salary, fine. That also you got. Then you feel that I am feeling very lonely. What is the use of all this money? I must have a companion with me. Then you get married, fine. So each time you are going on fulfilling your desire, thinking someday I will be happy, someday I will be happy. If I fulfill this desire, that's the final. No, it goes on. Then there is marriage, then there are children, and there are grandchildren, there is a house, this, that, etc. Ultimately, are you happy? You are still hunting for happiness, you are still searching for happiness. Why is it so? It is so because you are searching in the wrong place for happiness. When you search in the wrong place for happiness, the happiness keeps evading you. This is the story, birth after birth, life after life. It is going on and on and on. And we never question. So where does it all start from? Avidyā. Avidyā, Kāma. When the desire comes, what is the next? Karma automatically follows. From Avidyā comes Kāma. Once the desires are there, automatically you perform actions in the world to fulfill the desires. So this karma will, in the process, brings Karmaphala. And in order to go through this Karmaphala, you again take birth in this world. Because whoever is the Karta must become the Bhokta. The one who has performed the action must reap the fruit of the action. Thus, you are chained to this world life after life. This goes on and on and on. Avidyā, Kāma, Karma, Karmaphala, and that Karmaphala, in order to enjoy it, you again come back, again you perform action. Karma, Karmaphala goes on and on. And in this cycle, Ragadveshas also increase, because every time you try to fulfill the desire, what is happening? You are trying to fulfill what you like. You are trying to fulfill the desires of the mind. In the process, Ragadveshas increases. In the process, Vāsanās increases. Identification with the body increases. Thus, you are totally chained to the world. All because you are searching happiness in the wrong place. You are trying to search happiness outside, whereas that infinite happiness is already there. It is your very nature. It can never leave you. To indicate this point, we have a lot of stories in Vedanta. One of the famous stories is the old woman. So what is this old woman doing? She is searching for her lost needle. Where is she searching? She is searching under the street light. So this old Amma was searching. So one youngster came, thought that poor lady needs some help. Amma, what are you searching? I lost my needle here. Oh, so the youngster also started searching. After some time, some others also came. They found that some few people are searching. So they also joined. Now a crowd was there under the street light searching what? Needle. Then some wise person, intelligent person asked, Amma, where did you lose the needle? Then she said, I lost it in my hut. Then why are you searching here? In my hut there is no light. Here there is light. Here there is light, therefore I am searching here. Now this is exactly what we are doing. Where we lost happiness? We have lost it inside. But where are we searching it? We are searching outside. This is the problem. And this mistake will cost you thousands of births. Not few years. Births. I have used thousands to minimize the intensity. In our scripture, Shankaracharya says, Koti Janma. Crores of birth. Ananta Koti Janma. Infinite crores of births. A jiva goes along in this, samsara chakra. All because the direction of seeking is outside, not inside. So therefore, now this disciple has a tremendous amount of value for this knowledge. Because what is this knowledge going to do? It is going to destroy the very transmigration process. And the only way to destroy this transmigration process is self-knowledge. Because you are suffering because of self-ignorance. Self-ignorance is the cause of all calamities. So therefore the solution is self-knowledge. Knowledge alone can destroy ignorance, just like darkness can be destroyed only by light. Now, in this world we find so many people doing so many sadhanas, not knowing why are they doing it. Some are going for tirtha yatras. Ask them, they don't know what it is. Some are doing japa. Ask them, they don't know why they are doing. Some are chanting Vishnu Sahasranama, Lalita Sahasranama. Why are they doing it? They don't know. Some are doing so many selfless service. Feeding the poor, clothing the naked, etc. Why are they doing it? They don't know. You must have clarity when you are doing spiritual sadhana. Why am I doing it? What is the purpose? Now, Vedanta says there is only one and only one way in order to destroy the self-ignorance, and that is through knowledge. You do anything, you chant anything, meditate on anything, ignorance will not go without knowledge. Then all the other sadhanas are a waste? No. The sadhanas will help to purify the mind. Yes, that much all the other sadhanas are beneficial. Any chanting, etc., all those things are beneficial for what? Only purification of mind. Because when you, for example, when you chant Vishnu Sahasranama, you are not trying to gain the knowledge of the self. You are only remembering God. Right? When you are doing selfless service, remember, you are not attacking the very cause of transmigration. You are not attacking self-ignorance. So therefore the self-ignorance will remain. As long as you don't attack self-ignorance, that self-ignorance is going to remain. The only way to attack ignorance is through knowledge. So now, samakarnyata means this devotee has a tremendous value for this knowledge, because he knows this knowledge alone is going to destroy the very root of transmigration, which is Avidyā. There comes this Mahatva Buddhi, the value. All the sadhanas which you do in your life, it is only for this one thing called destruction of self-ignorance. So now the knowledge is needed. Knowledge cannot be directly gained from the textbooks. You need a live master who has gained that knowledge. The words coming from a live master who has experienced that higher state, those words carry a power, a strength. The words coming from an experienced master has a tremendous power. It is true with every field. For example, very many times the parents advise the children and the children don't listen. Why they don't listen? Because the very same parents who are advising, they don't follow it. It's a fact. If you are advising something which you yourself don't follow, your words will not carry weight. Your words will not carry that penetrating power to make the children obey. It is not possible. You keep on shouting and yelling at children, don't watch TV, don't go to the internet, and don't do this, what is that? Video games and all. You may tell thousands of times, but as long as the child is watching you, living a life of compromise, living a loose life, he will not obey you. It is a law of life. So in the same way, a master is needed. A master who has experienced that state is needed. A master who has experienced and also who is able to communicate. Such a master is needed. Sadvidwan upasrupyata. But having approached the master, you also must be prepared. And what is your preparation? This knowledge you must consider to be the highest. And you must be very clear, without this knowledge, my suffering is not going to end. Then and then alone that Mahatva Buddhi will come. The seriousness in seeking will come. The seriousness in gaining this knowledge will come. Let it not consider to be a knowledge which is optional. So many other branches of knowledge is there. This also I will take. There are very many people who study Vedanta in the universities. What is the purpose? To get a degree. They will get a degree, but they will not be free from ignorance. Make this very clear. Studying for a degree is very much different from studying for destroying the ignorance to gain the self-knowledge. Is very, very different. There is a total involvement there. It is not a mere academic study. Your whole personality gets transformed when you are studying in order to gain this knowledge. So this Mahatva Buddhi comes when you know how much important this knowledge is. So then such a person listens carefully. Samyak akarnyatam. Listen to it very carefully, because this is the most important thing in your life. This knowledge alone can destroy the ignorance. In fact, among Shravana, Manana and Nididhyāsana, the most important thing is Shravana only. If you are really prepared, that Shravana itself can destroy the ignorance. Manana and Nididhyāsana comes later. Unless the Shravana is complete, Manana and Nididhyāsana cannot give fruits. So therefore, all the spiritual masters unanimously agree that the Shravana is the most important phase in a spiritual seeker's life. So therefore, that preparation of mind is absolutely essential. So then, what will he listen? So the essence of the teaching is Tattvam Asi. The essence of the teaching is Aham Brahma Asmi. There is an equation. So the teacher says, you are not this body, you are Supreme Lord Himself. The essence in you is the very same essence in the Supreme Lord. So if you want to know yourself, know your own essence. And then you will be free from all kinds of limitations, all kinds of bondages. You are only an observer, you are not the observed body, mind, intellect. This is the knowledge which is the, is the essence of the knowledge. So then naturally we will have lot of questions, lot of doubts. So then what we have to do? Vicharyatam. Vakyarthascha vicharyatam. How to do vichara? That path also is shown by the Shruti. Shruti matas tarkaha anusandhiyatam. Follow the tarka given by Shruti. So what are the questions which might come? So now the Guru is saying, you alone are real. The world is illusion. What is my earlier understanding? I come and go in this world. The world is real. This is my understanding. Now the Guru says, sorry, the world doesn't even exist. What exists is only you. Now this question may come, how can you say that? So then, Shruti matas tarkaha. What does the Shruti say? How do you experience the world? Through your mind. Correct? It is only when the mind is present that you experience the world. Whenever your mind is absent, you don't experience the world. When does it happen? In deep sleep. In deep sleep, the mind is totally silenced. At that time, you don't experience the world. So, everyone who is experiencing the world, he is experiencing through what? Through the medium of mind. So, the whole world exists in the mind. Now, what are we trying to do? Now, the master asks, oh my dear child, find out whether the mind exists or not. The whole world exists in the mind. Find out whether the mind exists or not. And when you go into the deep meditation, what you find? The mind also disappears. Manasam tu kim margane krute naiva manasam marga arjavat. When you inquire into the nature of the mind, at the seat of meditation, when you see the thoughts, when you remain as a witness of the thoughts, all the thoughts die down. And when that thoughts disappear, what remains is only pure consciousness. So then you come to know this world is an illusion. Right? Because this world needs the mind, and the mind itself is an illusion. So whatever you see through an illusory medium has to be illusory. Just like, for example, when you use a magnifying lens and you see an ant, what do you see? You see a huge monster. But suppose you are not told that you are viewing it through a magnifying lens. So whoever comes and sees, what will he see? He will not see an ant, he will see some being is there inside. Isn't it? Why? Because the medium itself is distorting the truth. In the same way, the whole world is seen where? In the illusory medium called mind. When you try to find out whether the mind exists or not, you find there is no mind at all. To silence the mind, extreme purity is needed. All the sadhanas are done to silence the mind. And once the mind is silenced, you come to know only the self, the pure consciousness alone exists. So this way, Shruti gives tarka. Tarka here doesn't mean argument. Tarka means logic. The logics are given. In the same way, the teacher says, my dear child, you are not the body. Naturally the question comes, how can you say that I am not the body? So then the scripture says, look, anything that which is seen cannot be the seer. Seer is always different from the seen. So then when you find out, you find everything is seen, only one thing is the seer, absolute seer, that is consciousness. The world is seen through the eyes. The eyes are seen through the mind, and the mind is seen through consciousness. So this consciousness is different from everything else. Therefore, I am not this body, mind, intellect. Logic is given. Now, how can you say consciousness alone is real? Consciousness alone is real because every other states come and go, consciousness doesn't. This is the proof. Waking state comes and goes. Dream state comes and goes. Deep sleep state comes and goes. But the consciousness which illumines all the states, it never comes and goes. It is ever there, ever shining as I am. I am there in the waking state. Yes or no? Yes. In the waking state, I am there. I am conscious of the waking world. In the dream state, I am there or not? Yes. I am conscious of the dream world. Consciousness is there. In the deep sleep state also, I am there. Not as the ego, but as the knower of nothing. In the deep sleep, what is experience? I know nothing. Who knows it? The knower is absolute consciousness. It is not the ego which is knowing, it is the pure consciousness which is knowing. I slept well. This is our experience after sleep. I slept well. Who experienced the good sleep? It is not the ego, it is the consciousness. The very fact that you slept well, experience has taken place. So whenever there is an experience, there has to be an experiencer. So then you find that in all the three states, there is this consciousness present. This consciousness, which doesn't come and go, which is permanent, is the ultimate reality. This way, the Shruti gives tarka, argument, logic, to substantiate its statements. Shrutimatas tarkaha anusandhiyatam. Follow that. Now what? So this is where the manana comes. So first you listen, you gain the knowledge, and then questions will rise in the intellect. Every question of the intellect has to be answered. It has to be logically answered, convincingly answered. If you don't answer, what will happen? At the seat of meditation, these questions will come and trouble you. Your meditation cannot be really deep because there is no conviction. You doubt it. You keep doubting the statements made by the scriptures, made by the teacher. And as long as there is doubt, you cannot go deep within. So therefore, the second stage of sadhana is mananam. So in Shravana, what happens? Shravanena ajnana nivrittihi, mananena samshaya nivrittihi. Through manana, what happens? Samshayas, doubts of the mind, gets clarified. So through Shravanam, you get information. Through Mananam, you get conviction. You are convinced that yes, it is true, I am not the body, I am consciousness. Is it enough? It is not enough. Next stage is equally important. Many times what happens, we are convinced of certain knowledge, but we are not able to experience it. Spirituality is not mere thought-based knowledge, unlike the other worldly materialistic knowledge. In spirituality, you must have information, you must have conviction, plus that knowledge must transform you. It must end up in experience. Till then, knowledge is not considered to be complete. It must lead to the experience. Now, many times what happens, we have the information, we are convinced also, but the experience doesn't come. Why the experience doesn't come? It doesn't come because for so many births, we have thought ourselves to be the body. That habitual tendency remains. So then what is the third stage? The third stage is destroying this habit. The habit of thinking that I am this body. So what has to be done? Next stage. What is the next stage? Brahmāsmīti vibhavyatam. Brahmāsmīti vibhavyatam. I am Brahman. Iti vibhavyatam. Vibhavyatam, feel it. Again and again think of it. Again and again replace this notion that I am the body. Replace that notion with the notion I am Brahman. I am pure consciousness. This is called Nididhyāsana. Whatever we have gained through habits, the habits don't die hard, as they say. Isn't it? Very nicely they say. When H is removed, what remains? A bit remains. When A is removed, bit remains in that habit. When B is removed, it remains. When I is removed, thought remains. When T is removed, whatever you have written there remains. Even though you have rubbed it with a rubber, that mark remains that you have written. So this is the condition of any habit. Everything in life, whatever you have gained, is through habit. Everything. From the very naming ceremony. That small little child, when the child is told that you are Ramu, will the child accept? No. There is no identification. Then how do we, drill that name into the brain of the child? So we make the child sit on the lap and say, who is this father? Who is this mother? Who is this sister? Who is this? The child is wondering, who is this? You're Ramu. Okay, Ramu. And many times it is told, and slowly the child. Then you take the child to the mirror. Who is this? The child is wondering. Ramu. Okay, Ramu. And whenever any visitor comes, guest comes, relative comes, the first question they ask is, what is your name? And he is wondering. And he looks at mother. Mother says, tell, Ramu, tell. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Now you just utter Ramu, he turns. Isn't it? That's all. Now the habit has formed. Now he has understood. This name means me. Anyone, anywhere, that name is called, he turns back. Correct? And just imagine if this is the case with a simple thing called name, which has absolutely nothing to do with us, the real us. Isn't it? Anyone can give any name. But we get so identified with this name, even though it has nothing to do with the reality. A person's name may be Harishchandra, but he may be a number one criminal and corrupt person. Name has nothing to do with your behavior. Correct? But then we get identified with it, even though it is unreal. Now, here in Vedanta, we are not asking you to identify with some unrelated thing. We are asking you to identify with what you are. If such a simple name can create such a deep impression in your mind, and similarly all other habits, the way you speak, your accent, your style of talking, your style of walking, your style of swinging your hands, everything you have picked up from someone. And then you practiced it and it became your nature. Swabhava. Isn't it? Now here the main habit which we have formed is, I have taken myself to be the body. Every action I do, every activity I do is with the understanding that I am this body. And this body notion is never questioned anywhere. Now you may be convinced that I am pure consciousness, etc. But still, because of the force of habit, you may still consider yourself to be the limited human being. Correct. You may know it, but you are not able to live it. So therefore, this habit has to be broken. There's a very nice story which I heard. So there was this person who just had a taxi. So he was going in the taxi. So then he felt like telling something to the driver. So he just tapped from his back. And the driver got he became panicky. He just lost control over the car. And he was about to hit some tree or something. Somehow he controlled and stopped. Panting, sweating and all that. So the traveler who was seated at the back, he just couldn't understand anything because he just patted that shot from the back. So then the traveler said, I'm really sorry. Then the driver said, no, it's not your mistake. For the last 25 years, I have been driving ambulance carrying dead bodies. Right? Now, he is the person who has changed his profession. He knows very well. But because of that habit, isn't it? Very many things we do out of habit. You are used to keeping the key in some place. Someday you forgot or you kept it somewhere else. But then where will you go to search that key? Right? Yeah, this is called habitual error. Right? It's not that you don't have knowledge. But when some habit gets into your system, you behave according to that habit. Right? In the same way, this habit has become natural to us. What is the habit? Considering myself to be the body. So even when very many times you study the scriptures, you have understood the logic, you have no doubts, but still you behave as an embodied being. So then this has to be broken. How to break this? Reverse the system. Every time keep reminding yourself that you are consciousness. At the seat of meditation also, when the thoughts come, detach yourself from the thoughts, start paying attention to consciousness. And feel it. Own it up. Feel that I am this. Bring all the teachings of the Vedanta, of the Upanishads. Consciously start feeling that you are consciousness and everything is far, far away from you. Puja Gurudev used to say, at the seat of meditation, he used to say, I am not these thoughts are in me, I am not in them. Whatever be the kind of thoughts, good, bad, evil, indifferent, whatever, just be a witness. Feel that all these thoughts are in you. You, the pure consciousness, has nothing to do with all this. This way, again and again, you must keep repeating it. Whenever you are sorrowful, what you must do? The sorrow is in my mind, and who am I? I am the witness who is watching the mind. Earlier I used to say, I am sorrowful. After you study Vedanta, what you must say? I am the consciousness who is watching a sorrowful mind. See this, you detach. When the body is in pain, what you must say? Earlier you used to say, I am in pain. No, that statement is wrong. You are the consciousness who is experiencing pain. You are the consciousness in the light of which pain experience is happening. Keep doing this. Over a period of time, this becomes a habit. This is called Brahmākāra Vritti. It is a thought. You deliberately cultivate a thought which is against your what you call body identified thought. It destroys this thought. So one thought destroys the other thought. Right? This has to be practiced. How long? Till the body thought dies. And only this one thought will remain. Which thought? Brahmākāra Vritti. Finally, that also drops. So Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji gives another example in Atma Bodha. Krutva jnanam swayam nashye jalam katakarenuvat, he says. This Brahmākāra Vritti, what does it do? It destroys the I thought or the ego thought, and that also ultimately destroys. And the example given is, there is a dust particle of this one nut called kataka. Or forget about kataka, you just take alum. You know alum? What is its property? Yes. What if you have a muddy water? So what they do is just put little alum powder into that water. So this alum, what does it do? It sticks to these dust particles, and both the alum particle and the dust particle, it settles down. Ultimately what is left is only pure water. So in the same way, Brahmākāra Vritti is a thought, no doubt, but this thought destroys the ego thought, and both the thought vanishes. And ultimately what remains is only pure consciousness. So Brahmāsmi iti vibhavyata means again and again remind yourself that you are not this body, you are consciousness, observing everything, witnessing everything. You are the witness, witnessing the world. You are the witnessing consciousness, witnessing the body. You are the witnessing consciousness, witnessing the thoughts. Abide there in the consciousness. You will have to do it again and again for years, not once or twice. Brahmāsmiti vibhavyatam. Then what happens? This avidya slowly becomes weaker and weaker. Now you are directly hitting at the very root. That very misunderstanding which has created all problem, that misunderstanding slowly goes away. Now in the process what happens? As this ego falls, in fact, as you keep doing this sadhana, you will find you become more and more peaceful, relaxed, tension-free, and therefore you become efficient. In whatever you do, you become very efficient because mind is at peace. And whenever the mind is at peace, all your actions become efficient. A great transformation starts happening. There is enthusiasm, there is joy, there is peace, there is contentment, there is efficiency, and naturally you become successful in life. Any sadhaka who is in the right track will be far, far higher than the rest of the crowd. He will outshine everyone, no doubt about it. Anyone who works on these principles will exhibit tremendous amount of concentration, tremendous amount of enthusiasm, because he is seeking the very source of happiness. So naturally, his personality will shine out amidst the crowd. Then what happens? There is all the possibility of garva. Garva, ahankara, ego to rise up. So what must be done? So the next instruction, see this. Aharaha garvaha parityajyatam. As you keep progressing in spirituality, there will be one constant companion who will keep troubling you. And that is garvaha. Bhagavan says, ahaha, ahaha. Ahaha means day. Day in and day out. Parityajyatam. Give up what? Garva. Ahankara. The ego. Now remember, This ego destruction is a subtle process. Now you very much see the difference. The amount of peace you are enjoying, you know others are not enjoying it. The amount of efficiency you have, you know others don't have it. The amount of concentration you have, you know others don't have it. Very clearly you are far, far higher than the rest. So, now at the seat of meditation, if you say, "Oh God, I am nothing," intellect will say, "What are you saying? How can you be nothing? You are far better than others." Now what answer will you give? It's a fact. Isn't it a fact? It's a fact. You clearly know. Now you cannot cheat your intellect, because the intellect knows it. Very well it knows that because of all these sadhanas, it has really gone higher and higher. It has really evolved. Intellect knows it. Now you can't fool the intellect saying, "I am nothing," etc. When you say "I am nothing," the intellect will say, "You are big nothing," meaning far better than others. If you are a dust particle, the intellect will say, "You are a big particle," of course, compared to others. There will be this ego, you can't get rid of it. Because you are seeing the results. That holier than thou attitude will come. So then what has to be done? All the normal techniques will not work. Again, this garva has to be destroyed at the very root. So what is the stage? Next one. Dehe aham matihi ujjatam. This is the way to destroy the ego. In the beginning, yes, all those things are fine. What? "Oh God, I am nothing. You are everything. You are omniscient. My knowledge is very little. My strength is very little." This is the way you, in the beginning, you reduce the ego. But now what is happening? Now you are becoming efficient. So fine, you may be alpajna, but compared to others, you are not sarvajna, but definitely much more knowledgeable. So then the ego will not accept. With respect to God, you may be an alpajna, but with respect to others, definitely your knowledge is very high. Now when the comparison happens, that holier than thou attitude will come. You are getting the point? Compared to God, of course, I am nothing. But compared to others, I am definitely someone. A force to reckon with. So then, the ego has to be destroyed from the very root. What is the technique of destroying that ego? Bhagavan says, Dehe aham matihi ujjatam. Ujjatam, give up ujjatam. This is the way to destroy the ego. What is the way? Disidentify yourself from the body. So every individual is comprised of two aspects, two factors. What are the two? Consciousness and matter. This is the essence of Vedanta. Every individual has got two factors in them. One is consciousness, other is matter. So what are the matter? Matter means anything that which is made of 5 elements is matter. What are the 5 elements? Space, air, fire, water, earth. Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala, Prithvi. These are called 5 elements, right? Now, body, what is it? It is nothing but matter, because it is made of 5 elements. What about the mind? That is also matter. It is made of Sukshma Tanmatra. Subtle matter. So that is also matter. Now there is one thing which is not matter, and that is consciousness. Right? So body is matter, mind is matter, intellect is matter. There is one thing which is not matter, which is consciousness. And what is the nature of consciousness? It is infinite, it is immortal, it is a life-giving sentient factor. The inert matter is always dead. There is no life in it. But then it is this consciousness which gives life to the inert assembly. So consciousness is a life-giving principle. So who am I actually? I am pure consciousness. But now what is the mistake I have done? I have got identified with the body, which is a matter, and therefore now I consider myself to be the body. So consciousness identified with matter is called ego or ahankara. Consciousness identified with matter is ego. That pure, infinite, immortal consciousness, when it gets identified with the body, that consciousness feels, I am this body. This is a mistake. So what is the solution? Disidentification. So Puja Gurudev used to give a beautiful example of that film theatre. So you go to a film theatre, when you see the film, what happens to you? You get involved in the film. And when you get involved, absorbed in the film, what happens? Whatever happens in the film starts happening to you. Isn't it? The hero is crying. Who cries? You sit and cry. The hero is anxious. You are also anxious. Correct? So what happens? In the movie, what happens is you become totally identified with the character there. And when there is total identification, whatever happens to the character starts happening to you. Right? This is called identification. Now remember, in this film theatre, there is one real entity, there is another unreal entity. Who is the real entity? The person who is watching the film. He is real. What about the film? The character, he is unreal. But see this. Actually, who is crying in the film? It is not the real. Real alone need not cry, because the character's problem is not his problem. Pure real person need not cry. The pure unreal character cannot cry. You understood? Now who is crying then? The real person who got identified with the unreal character goes through the problems of the unreal character. You see this? So there is a combination of real and the unreal. It is not pure real, it is not pure unreal, it is a combination of real and unreal. Now tell me, can real and unreal combination possible? Is it possible? Never. Real and unreal can never combine. Then what has happened? Here what has happened is a wrong notion. So the real person thinks that he is the character, and because of identification, problems, miseries, sorrows of the character as though has become his misery, his problem. So if he wants to get rid of this sorrow, what he has to do? He has to just disidentify. Divert the attention from the film. That is enough. All the sorrows will vanish. Isn't it? Now here, very interestingly, what are the things? One is a real person, another is the unreal character, and now the third entity has emerged out of these two. What is that? The real identified with the unreal. That's the third entity. So misery is for whom? For the third entity. In the same way, consciousness is real. Matter is unreal, illusion. Consciousness need not cry because it is Ananda Swarupa. Matter cannot cry because it has no life. Then who cries? Consciousness identified with the BMI, body, mind, intellect. Consciousness identified with the body, mind, intellect is the one crying. He is the one who is going through samsara. He is the one who is experiencing all limitation, suffering. Correct? So what has he to do? Simple, disidentify himself from what he is not. That's all. And let him identify with what he is. So this consciousness identified with the matter is called ego or ahankara. So really speaking, does ego exist? It doesn't exist. What exists is only consciousness. Ego has no existence at all. Because ego is a combination of real and unreal. Real and unreal can never combine together. It's impossible. It is impossible. Just like light and darkness cannot coexist, in the same way, real and unreal cannot coexist. So therefore, this ego is an illusion. It has no existence. It is born out of ignorance. Ego is born out of ignorance. Ignorance, we can say self-ignorance. Correct? So the consciousness thinks that it is the ego. So what should it do? The consciousness need not do anything, just disidentify from what it is not and identify with what it is. This is called Dehe Ahammatihi Ujjatam. Give up this Ahammati. Ahammati means identification. That this is me. Dehe, in the body. Give up this identification with the body. Then what happens? Garva automatically is destroyed. This is the way to destroy the ego. Whenever the ego rises, question, what is this ego? You will find there is no ego. Right? Ego comes up whenever we are not alert. Alertness is the price which you have to pay in spirituality. More you are alert, the more the ego cannot raise its hood, and all the trouble, all the suffering is for the ego only. When the ego is destroyed, everything is over. Correct? Dehe ahammatihi ujjatam. So whenever you feel proud of your attainments, achievements, ask yourself, who is feeling proud? Definitely you are proud of something related to your body or your mind or your intellect. Immediately ask, who is feeling proud? I. Who am I? I am consciousness. I have nothing to do with the achievements of the body, mind or intellect. It belongs to Prakriti. Guna guneshu vartante iti mattvana sajjate. It belongs to Prakriti. It has nothing to do with me. So all these achievements are not mine. I am pure consciousness. Gone. Ego gone. All the achievements of the ego also gone. You strike at the very root, not allowing the ego to raise its hood. This has to be done for a long time. Right. Now Bhagavan gives a very important instruction. What is that? Buddha janaihi vadaha parityajyatam. Parityajyatam, give up. What? Vadaha. Vadaha, arguments. With whom? Buddha janaihi, wise people. Never argue with wise people. Never argue with wise people. What will happen if you argue with wise people? Remember, there is a difference between argument and discussion. Argument is vada, discussion is samvada. What is the difference? In argument, you are not interested in knowledge, you are interested in defeating the other. You are more interested in your winning. This is called vada. I must defeat others, I must prove others that I am more intelligent, more knowledgeable, more wise. Wherever such people come together, it may start as samvada, but it will end up in vada only. Ego comes into picture. The moment ego comes into picture, everything takes a backseat. Whereas in samvada, what is important is not the ego, what is important is knowledge. So you discuss something with others, not to prove any point, but only to update your knowledge, upgrade your knowledge. If there is something better in the world, let me have it. If someone knows better than me, let me gain that knowledge from him. You are not interested in winning. And many times in samvada, you come to know that you are wrong, you easily admit it. You admit, oh, I am sorry. I didn't know this. What you are saying is right. Now this ability to admit one's ignorance is not possible by an egoistic person. Egoistic person will try to prove that he is right, even though internally inside he knows what is wrong. He will use dustarka. Here comes the term dustarka. Fallacious logic in order to prove that I am right. Now what is the end result? End result is you have wasted your time, your energy, and ultimately you are disturbed also. An egoistic person, whenever he argues, he comes back with a prick of conscience. I should have replied him like this. I should have replied him like that. You see, that argument keeps going on and on and on and on. He may have sleepless nights after an argument. You are never at peace after an argument. Right? So not only that you have not gained the knowledge, you have positively cultivated disturbance and now you are coming back. Whereas what happens in Samvada, you don't give ego any place. Your goal is only to know. I want to know. Right? So after samvada, after discussion, you come back with a peaceful mind, with a greater fulfillment that now I have learned something new. There is a sense of fulfillment that you have got something new. You don't come back with a sense of defeat. You come back with a sense of fulfillment. The mind is at peace. There is a greater joy, and moreover, you have come back wiser than before. These things happen in Samvada. So whenever we go to a Buddhajana means wise, a saint or a sage, a Mahatma, what are we supposed to do? Buddhajanaihi vādaha parityajyatam. Suppose you strike an argument. You try to contradict his statement. Prove that you are more wiser. What will the Buddhajana do? He will just remain silent. He will not argue with you. He will just remain silent. And this fool thinks that, see, even the Mahatma could not answer my question. And comes back. Such a fool he is. The Mahatma feels there is no point in speaking to him. He is already full. Now if I pour, where will it go? Only an empty vessel can be filled. Right? Or suppose if the cup is ulta, upside down, there is no point in pouring. He is not available. He is filled with his own knowledge. He is there to show the Mahatma how much I know, how much I have studied. He will quote this scripture, that scripture, etc. He is there to prove the Mahatma that he is a greater Mahatma than. If this is the case, the wise people, Buddhajana, they will remain quiet. Theek hai Baba, I accept you are more wiser. Please go. Now who is the loser? We are the losers. So whenever we go to a Mahatma, what are we supposed to do? Sit as though you don't know anything. That's the best attitude. And it's a fact also. But even the little things you know, don't exhibit it. Just remain quiet. Be at their feet. Be totally humble. In this world there is a law. The law is knowledge always flows from the higher to the lower. Just like water. How does the water flow? Water flows from the higher to the lower. Electricity also flows that way. From a higher potential to lower potential. In the same way, knowledge also. So to the extent you can bow down, to the extent you can make yourself humble, with an attitude, I don't know anything, to that extent, knowledge will come to you. The ocean is the greatest reservoir of water. Why is it? Because it is at the lowest level. That's why we call it sea level. Sea level means the lowest, isn't it? It's a law of the universe. If you have that attitude, knowledge must come to you. Even if the teacher is not willing to give, it will come to you. That's the beauty. Look at that Ekalavya. Dronacharya was not willing to give. What did Ekalavya do? Prostrated unto him, made a clay model of Dronacharya. Every day before practicing, he would just prostrate. Guru, everything has come from you. It is coming from you. With this belief, he started practicing. And then what happened to him? He became a better archer than the best disciple of Dronacharya. See that? It's a law of nature. To the extent you are humble, to that extent knowledge must come to you. No force in this world can stop you. So when we approach Mahatmas, let us be as humble as possible. Don't exhibit your little information which you have gained from here and there. Buddhajanaihi vādaha parityajyatam. Give up. Right. Some more instructions are given, valuable tips in sadhana. Those tips we will see tomorrow. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyanto, ma kasyit dukkha bhag bhavet. Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.